morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is I, Dr. Lineage Vet, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm Dr. Lineage Vet, your host for today. It saddens me to have this conversation. Southern California is on fire, literally. There are wildfires that are being called the worst in history, leaving behind devastation on every level. While we grieve the loss of homes and lives, we also want to talk about the financial impact. Early estimates from JPMorgan Chase place insured losses at a staggering 10 billion plus, or over 10 billion. And here is the kicker. Many of these residents, they don't even have fire insurance anymore because a lot of insurance companies have pulled out of California. So there's 10 billion plus in damages. People don't have coverage. And so today we're going to break down the numbers, examine the insurance crisis, and discuss the long-term implications for families and communities. We have a great panel today. We have our homeboy, our king, I should say not our homeboy, our king, Joe Corley, who is a licensed therapist. We have our goddess Athena. I love the hair, Athena. She is a CPA. We have, I know your name, Miss Black Hollywood. And she's actually in California right now, right? So she's in the thick of it. And we have Noma Lenga is here with us today. I don't see your title, Noma, so I don't have. What's your title? What are you going by these days? Mom, wealth activist.
So I'm the founder of the M3 program. Am I muted? Oh, you can hear me.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm the founder of the M3 program. M3 stands for Marriage, Motherhood, and Money Making.
Okay, come through, marriage, motherhood, and money making. Okay, cool. So these are our queens and our king for the day. And before we get into our conversation, we're going to start with a Thursday morning update video, and then we'll kind of just go around the room and see like what are your thoughts on what's happening in California after we look at this video.
Here's the latest update on the California wildfires as of Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. According to California Governor Gavin Newsom, at least 5 people have died. This has become the most destructive wildfire ever in Los Angeles County. Here is where the fires stand, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Palisades Fire, at least 17,000 acres burned and 0% containment. Eaton Fire, at least 10,600 acres burned and 0% containment. Hearst Fire, at least 855 acres burned and 10% containment. Lydia Fire, at least 348 acres burned and 40% containment. Sunset Fire, at least 60 acres burned and 0% containment. Many fire hydrants have gone dry. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power was pumping water from aqueducts and groundwater, but due to high demand, they couldn't refill 3 1-million-gallon tanks in Pacific Palisades, causing many fire hydrants to go dry. All schools in the Los Angeles Unified School District will be closed on Thursday. In the Palisades area, 2 schools have been completely destroyed by the flames. The newest fire to break out is the Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills, where evacuation orders have been issued. This is an ongoing situation, and Brute will...
Man, I am a California native, born and raised, and so that it hurts my heart to see that. I'm going to start with you, Tiara, being that you are there, you're in the middle of it. What are your thoughts? Like when it's first happening, it feels surreal. Like I'm feeling like Armageddon. Like it just doesn't seem like it's something that would really happen. So, what were your thoughts, and what are the feelings on the ground out there in California right now?
Yeah, we get I'm sorry, somebody was people are calling me like crazy. Even though I'm on do not disturb, it's like calls are constantly coming through. This is devastating. It's like nothing I've ever seen before in California. Obviously, we'll get like a little brush fire and you'll see a little hills burning or something. They'll contain it, put it out, and then you move along your day. With there being multiple fires burning at the same time, houses being destroyed, friends on my timeline saying they have absolutely nothing to go back to. There was actually a fire 7 minutes from my house in this direction and this direction. They were able to contain both, so I'm able to stay in my apartment. There's some conspiracies about people starting the fires, but I'm not really sure if that's true or not, because as you saw the video, the embers and the winds are so strong here that even I'm thinking that those embers are just blowing and then they're starting fires elsewhere. And I think that's what's happening, as opposed to people starting it, right? And so it's just really devastating. I mean, it's like I said, the Pacific Palisades are completely destroyed. The neighborhood that was so beautiful just a couple days ago is now non-existent. And so it's really devastating to see, y'all. Like, it being somebody that came here because of Hurricane Katrina, I just feel a little triggered today by all, like, a devastation all over again and watching people lose their things all over again.
Man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know you for years. I didn't even realize that is how you got to California. Joe, what are your thoughts when you're seeing these communities ravaged with fire? I've seen the video where people are flying over and it just looks like a pool of fire. What were your thoughts when you were watching or seeing this?
Honestly, just hurt, because I hate to see people lose stuff for nothing, without their own doing, without their own fault. So just kind of watching them go through it is just, really a passionate person. So anytime people are in pain, I'm in pain with them. It's just what I see.
Athena, as a financial person, when you're watching these fires take place and they're happening, what are your thoughts? Like, are you thinking safety? Are you thinking dollars, numbers? I hope they're prepared. Are you thinking about the fact that, do they have insurance? Like, what are you thinking when you're seeing this type of a crisis?
Well, I'm thinking about all the things because, as you know, I also live in Florida, and Florida is a very hurricane-centric place. And what I want people to understand first and foremost, I know we live on these internet streets and we see a lot of things, but money first and foremost is for your protection. Money first and foremost is for your safety, and money first and foremost is for your survival. When I saw the fires happening, it just kind of reminded me of the hurricanes that just came through. I was spared, but a lot of people in South Florida, Palm Beach County, did not have, flood insurance or had their insurance lapse or couldn't afford insurance. And a lot of things similar to what California is experiencing right now. A lot of insurers left the state and just dropped people because of the claims that have been emerging from these different kind of disasters. So when insurers drop you or leave, that presents one issue. The ones that do stay, I know my insurance went up this year, even though I'm a part of a HOA. Collectively, everyone's insurance went up. So even if you have a home, if you cannot afford that insurance, it does leave you liable. So for the people in California, as they're going through this situation right now, for the ones who couldn't afford specific fire insurance, because this is the other thing with insurances, and I hope everyone watching this, your general home insurance will cover certain things, but certain things like fire, flood, those type of things aren't included in those general policies, and you would have to pay additional to add those things. A lot of homeowners don't know that or don't have that. So specifically in California, if they do not have fire insurance, they have no claim. And even if you do have a claim, a lot of these insurance companies will play games with you and try to say there's another reason outside of the reason that we clearly see as to why they can't honor your policy. So this situation, just in addition to the United Healthcare crisis that we just happened, is really calling into question insurance companies as a whole and their accountability to the public. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to share the information because it's also so important. An insurance company's job is not necessarily for the welfare of the public, even though they are highly regulated and they're highly regulated by states. Their bottom line at the end of the day is to make a profit. How they make profit is the premiums that you pay them. They now take those premiums and put it back into the markets and investments and make money in the stock markets and different investment vehicles. They are making a calculation based on you, other information you give them, your home, etc., on the likelihood of having to pay you out on a liability. So when situations like these fires happen in mass, in that way, what usually happens is that they underestimated the liability and now there's a deficit that needs to be made, right? So who is not going to get covered? First of all, the people who don't have the regular fire insurance are going to be dropped, but also they're going to try to not pay out as much as possible. So I need people to really understand how that profit engine works, and so that we can be accountable for as much as possible what we need to do to protect ourselves.
All right, great. No Malenga. So you're not in the States right now, right? You're abroad. You're watching this happening. What are your thoughts?
So no, I'm not in the States, but two of our older kids are, but they're all the way out in Boston, not in California. I lived in Florida, and I left to go and live in upstate New York. So I had seen a lot of this every single year around August, September, where there was just devastation. But on a more personal level, my initial thoughts were, I saw something on Facebook where someone was saying, you know what? When you hear about people that have been devastated, our initial reaction should just be compassion, and let people talk it out. Just listen, offer your help. Don't say things like, well, at least you're alive. Well, at least all of those things where there's that positive, negative, or that negative positivity, because people have lost their whole lives and everything that they've really worked for. So the only thing you can do is just offer your help and no negative positivity. That's my initial thought.
That's actually a great thought. When we come back, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about preparedness, because I always, and I don't even know if this is, and hopefully I say this correctly, I always wonder about people who live in places where they have natural disasters on a regular basis. Like, that hurricanes are going to come through Florida. It happens every year. That fires are going to come through. It happens every year. Like, what do you do? What are you doing? Are you prepared for this? Or do you just think it's not going to happen to me, right? So we're going to talk about that when we come back from our first commercial break, which we can go to right now.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am the proud producer of this show. So I hope that every day when you join us, you leave a little smarter than you came, because that's the point. Otherwise, why are you watching? So if you want to receive notices for when we go live, Fly Nubian Money goes live every single day. That's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't know, now you know. All you have to do is text the word Queens, that's Queens, that's Queens, to 87948. That's 87948. That's Queens to 87948. Yes? If you want.
That is Queens to 87948. Yes. Okay. So my thoughts on this, I will say that, again, born and raised from California, I live in Arizona. I actually did not even know these fires were happening. I'm just gonna be for real. I've had my head down. I'm in the middle of a launch. And when I'm in a launch, I don't be on social media. So I have no idea what's going on until this morning. And I'm reading, I got the inbox. I'm going through the news. I'm looking at all the TikToks. I'm doing everything. And I immediately just pick up my phone and call my family, because all of my family lives in California, Orange County, San Bernardino, LA area. And so that's the first thing I do, is just check on my family. The second thing is pray, and then just really just sit in, what are these people dealing with? What are they going through? Like, it looks like Armageddon. It's crazy. And then it takes me back to, how do people prepare for something like this? Like, are you, when you're moving into a home or a house or a location, are you thinking, okay, this is in a fire area? Are you thinking, this is where hurricanes will come through? When you are living in these types of places, what is the ideology and the thought process of the outcome of what can happen? We have Constance Carter here. Welcome, Constance. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll start with you, Athena, because you are in one of those locations. You're in Florida. You just had a hurricane. Like, how do you prepare? Are you thinking about it? Are you just hoping that it doesn't happen to you? Like, what happens? What do you do?
I think the thinking is, and I've been through some major hurricanes. Like, I remember Jean and Francis was coming, and then it was flooded to the point where you could take your little blow up raft and like go down the street type of thing, and we were out of school for weeks, right? I think it's just something that becomes a natural part of your life and you don't really think about it as much. I mean, because there are years where you don't have devastation, and then there's years where obviously there will be an issue. Now, Florida is unique because we know we're getting hurricanes, so the houses and everything, how it's designed to handle hurricane force winds, one, and then also, especially with newer housing and construction, the houses have to be hurricane windows and things like that. But also, you are aware that you must have certain insurance to cover wind damage and things like that. Well, I've always looked at it was from the perspective of this, like, wherever you live, I can't think of a place where devastation will not track you. It's either earthquake, a fire, a flood, a hurricane, a tornado in Midwest. Like they're always, there's no place 100, a snowstorm, right, which is currently going on in other places. There's no place on earth where Mother Nature cannot touch you, right? So it's just best to pick the place where you can live and have as much protection as possible. But I also think this scenario reminds us, no matter how high and mighty and how good we have it in life, Mother Nature will humble you, and Mother Nature can snatch it back. Because I was on
everywhere for everybody. Joe, are you in Texas?
I am.
Okay.
Crazy right now.
Yeah. So I got caught. I drove to Texas one time. From Phoenix to Houston, and I got caught in a snowstorm. I was on that freeway for 10 hours, like literally just sitting there for 10 hours with my car off. What do you guys do? Like, how do you guys prepare for natural disasters out there?
Listen, right now, Texas is shut down because it's snowing outside in Dallas. I don't know about Texas, but Dallas for sure. It's snowing outside. It's a little light drizzle. So, I grew up in Minneapolis, so this is like a spring day for me. So, me and my wife we be whipping the cars like this. But you got to be careful out here because folks can't drive in this or they're not prepared for it to be cold. So the whole thing shuts down, and then like the water starts freezing. It's just a big mess. They're just definitely not prepared for cold. And they're not trying to prepare for cold. So it's a big mess, honestly. I don't know who's in charge of it, who's supposed to be in charge of it, but those folks that are supposed to be in command of this stuff they're just not prepared.
You bring up a good point, Constance. I'm gonna come to you. You've lived in California, so you're a Californian like myself and Tiara. Who should be responsible? Who should be responsible for preparedness? I know they're coming for Gavin's Newsom's head. I think I saw him talking about $1 billion fire plan to help with fires, not necessarily help people, but to make sure that California is more fireproof. Who should be responsible in these situations when there's this type of a fire? Is it the people who should have insurance? Is it the government? Is it the state? What are your thoughts? You're on mute, sweetie.
Hey, y'all. Well, I want to say round. I'm loving the leopard. This mic ain't gonna get me. Okay, so I would say it's all of the above. I mean, you have your insurance for a reason. But here's the thing about the insurance companies and being from California and being in real estate and having to deal with the insurance companies, there's been when you have insurance claims in California, it affects your premiums all across the country. All of our premiums go up when there's a natural disaster. So what happens in Florida affects my premiums in Maryland, affects your premiums in California. And so there's been a number of things in California that's happened. You got all the thefts that's been going on. You have the business insurance. You have, in early 2000s, the mold crisis. There are all of these things and then you had, of course, every year we have these wildfires that happen every single year. So there's always some type of devastation that's going on. But then when you have the hurricanes, they all affect your premium. And so who should be responsible? Okay, the homeowners definitely should have insurance. You got to. And if you have a mortgage on your property, the mortgagee is not going to allow you to not have enough insurance, to be underinsured, because at the end of the day,
their loss is greater than yours. So you're going to have enough, you should have enough coverage. I feel bad for the renters, but all renters need to have some type of rental insurance if you're renting a property. You got to protect your personal property. The owner's going to have a insurance to protect his asset, but you need to have insurance to protect your personal property. And then you have the state's responsibility, and then you have the federal government, and you have FEMA. So of course, the federal government needs to make sure that there's enough funding to be able to support this. So that's my take on it.
So it sounds like it's everybody's responsibility with regards to who should be, responsible per se, but also from a preparedness standpoint, letting people know, hey, this fire is happening. This fire is coming. You need to get out, like get your stuff. It's time to go. This is not probably the appropriate time, but it just came to my mind. So I got to use it. Remember a couple years ago, the dude was talking about, was it a fire? He was like, hide your kids, was somebody, was something? No, it wasn't a fire.
Oh, you talk about, yeah. You talk about, it's a fire. Nobody got time for that.
It's not funny.
There's a fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not funny, but it just came to my mind right now. But you need to have some type of a system to help people get prepared. I've been seeing cars, gridlocks, things like that. So being prepared, having your stuff together. I think that's something to talk about. You got to have your documents. You got to know what you're going to what you're going to pull so that you can leave, so that you can even file an insurance claim. But the state has to also let you know. There's a video of a young lady that was talking about getting out and what that was like. We can go to that video and then we'll talk about it.
My sister called and she's like, are you okay? And at that moment, a helicopter flew over my house and just dropped water. And I was like, oh, it's raining. She's like, oh, no, it's not raining. Your neighborhood is on fire. You need to get out. And as soon as I opened my door, it was like right there. And then the first thing I did was looked at the trees to see where the wind was blowing, because it hit me, it blew me back. At the bottom of the canyon, there was cars piled on top of each other. There was boulders and debris that fell off of the canyon that was on fire, that was in the middle of the road where people had to abandon their cars. So I said, I'm just gonna jump in the pool. I can barely swim, but I'm just that's our only way out, because the canyon is literally on fire on both sides. I thought it was just the canyon across my house, but no, it's literally on both sides. There was no other way for me to get out, and if it had not been for the grace of God, of my neighbor's son coming to get their mother, and me going to the corner to just try to flag someone down.
Oh my God, I got chills.
Was that in San Diego? Where was that? Because there's tons of canyons in San Diego. Where's that?
I don't know where that exactly. It's in LA. Yeah.
That was in the canyon.
That literally gave me chills. She's in her house. She thinks it's raining and her house is on fire. Like, that's crazy, right? When you're talking about being prepared. So I have to, I go to, is it not on TV? How do you not know? I know in states where they have tornadoes, there's like a warning, like does California needs something that says, hey, there's a fire, grab your stuff, get outside, something. I saw a comment that came up that was on the screen that says that this fire was man-made. And Tiara, you kind of alluded to that, right? People are kind of saying that somebody started this fire. What are your thoughts? Are we thinking that this is man-made? Are we watching the news and seeing the embers?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure, because of the way the wind is blowing and how strong the winds are. The winds at this point, we knew wind was coming at 70 to 100 miles per hour. That's how hard this wind is blowing, y'all. And so I think what's happening after the first fire in the Palisades, it's just blowing and catching fire all over the place. I do think it's strange that from the Palisades to then Pasadena to then Hollywood, it's just so hard to, as you guys can see the visuals, you can put up the visuals, Gwen. There's like fire everywhere and things are just flying around. The air quality is terrible. So I hope it's that. But there was also someone trying to light firecrackers up the street. So it's so funny. I live in Sherman Oaks. Somebody was like, we could hear firecrackers or something popping, right? And one of my neighbors came out and said, I know a motherfucker ain't in here trying to light firecrackers in the middle of a, she was like, nobody wants to get, like, she was cussing and everything. And these are my white neighbors. Like, I was like, oh my God, let me get my stuff together. But everybody is kind of on watch, I guess is my point. So it's just making me think, like, are people trying to add to that? Like, there's already chaos happening. Let me add a little chaos to it, because people are strange and they do stuff like that.
All right, so I'm going to go to the therapist real quick. In times like this, crisis, chaos, what are people thinking? Because a lot of times, so I'm from California. I lived there during Rodney King, different things. A lot of times when there's chaos, and I think not too long ago in San Diego, there was a fire and people started looting, acting a fool. In times like this, a lot of times we see people act a plumb fool. I'm not seeing that in California right now. It looks like people are really fearful and scared and trying to get it together and whatnot. What should people be doing? Like, how can we support individuals who are in California, or people who are having these experiences, or people who are being triggered? What can we do to help?
I think what Nami said earlier is the best you could possibly do. Like, don't invalidate people's experience, by telling them stuff like, at least you're alive, or at least, this didn't happen, or this didn't happen, because you just don't know what people are feeling. To answer the question, what are people thinking? It depends on the person. You know what I mean? Like, some people are, probably okay, because they know that they didn't do anything, or couldn't done anything to prevent what's happening to them. And then some people are, probably panicking or devastating, thinking that life could be over for them. Who knows what the circumstances are, if the insurance companies are going to contribute, or are you going to have to build from scratch? Or maybe, some people, I believe I heard earlier that some people actually are losing their lives. Is that correct? Right.
Yeah, there's been some deaths.
So there's grief involved. You know what I mean? There's grief involved, here today, gone tomorrow type situation. Like, you didn't, you woke up thinking you're going to have a normal day, and now you're waking up to a loss of a loved one. So, I mean, it's just about not invalidating anybody's experience, and listening, and being available emotionally to take in whatever people are saying.
I like that. No, Malangas, you deal with, I think you said, marriage, money, and motherhood. So it's the family, it's the finances. What would you say, or what would you recommend for a family to do to help realistically get prepared or start preparing for an emergency? We talked about, I think Athena was saying that every state and or place and or country, any place where somebody lives, you can have an emergency, right? So what would you tell a family or a mother around getting prepared for anything, a traumatic to happen? You're on mute.
Yeah, I realize. Well, I often feel like I sound like a broken record because I talk so much about the importance of family and family connections. But even situations like that, like what's going on right now, will highlight that. I think I crossed even one of Tiara's posts, and somebody was saying, "Hey, look," I think it was your cousin, maybe, was like, "You know what? You can have my apartment or something." And I thought, "Oh, that's wonderful."
Yeah.
It was on Facebook, so it's public. I'm not sharing anything she wouldn't, let me share. But again, it highlights the importance of strong family structures, strong family connections. If you have family that's somewhere else, somebody that can help you financially, somebody that can offer you something, we can never really minimize that. And I think it's a blessing to have that when you have it. And if you don't have it, invest in building that.
That's wonderful.
I concur. So the fires are raging. People, some are prepared, some are not prepared. We're looking at the pictures. We have one image of this lady. She has a face mask on, and you can see the pain and frustration in her eyes. I think she's trying to get out at the airport. So people that's the one, new fire alert. This is crazy, man. You can see it. People are nervous. People are scared. I believe I read something, actually I have right here, that this is, it's not normal. This is not a normal red flag. Kevin McGowan, the director of emergency management for Los Angeles County, said, we're facing a historic natural disaster. And I think that can't be stated strong enough, that this is not a normal situation. So in a situation where something is not normal, as a realtor, Constance, like, and you dealing with homes, and they were talking about how to have your home fireproof, like how to fireproof your home. But if something comes through and it's not normal, like how do you be prepared for something that's not normal? As a realtor, real estate agent, when you're talking to your clients and you're selling them homes, do you talk to them about being prepared for fires and things like that? Are you is that something that people have to be cognitive of their own, or is that something that the state is doing? Like, how does a person even know what to be prepared for and how to be fireproof, if that makes sense?
I have no idea how to fireproof your home. If I knew, I'd fireproof mine right now, because you just don't know. But I think, again, when you talk about the insurances, like if you're in an area where there's a lot of earthquakes, your mortgage company is going to make sure that you have earthquake insurance. If you're in an area where there's a lot of floods and you have a mortgage, your mortgage company is going to make sure you have flood insurance. It's going to make sure you have fire insurance if you're in an area where there are a lot of fires. But if you don't have a mortgage, and those are the people that I feel sorry for, are the ones who don't have mortgages, because when they don't, this extra $2,000 a year, they might not want to pay it, or they may not think it's worth it, or they may not think that they need it. But insurance, just like car insurance, they bet on you not having to use it. But when you do, you're going to need it. You never know when you're going to have to use it. So that's the preparedness that you always should have, whether it's car insurance, whether it's life insurance, whether it's health insurance, whether it's home insurance. You got to make sure that that's the preparedness. That's the only thing I could say. It's the only way that you could insulate yourself, because if a disaster strikes, who knows? Who knows? COVID comes, you need health insurance. Like, there's so many different, disasters that come. And you just have to make sure that you're prepared with insurance.
So you and Athena brought up great points on insurance. We know that insurance companies are being pulled out of California and places of mass destruction. We're going to talk about that when we come back from the commercial. Let's go to commercial break, and then we'll talk about insurance when we get back.
You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says, check us out at flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynubianmoney.com.
Get your money right. Okay, I just couldn't help myself. No jazz hands today. Is what you're gonna get. So let's go to the clip on insurance. Wait, before I do it, let me do my plug. We're here every Monday through Friday at 1:00 p.m. You can go to Fly Nubian Money. If you want to get your money right, you can text the word Queens to 87948 so that you can be alerted when we go live Monday through Friday at 1:00. All right, now let's go to that clip.
About fire, and they might, after this event, not be able to get fire coverage. What will you do? What will your office do to make sure that people in this state can still get fire coverage?
That is a great question, and I can tell you now that the governor has declared a state of emergency. We now are going to move towards protecting those homeowners and those communities and those business owners from being dropped from their insurance company for a year. That is a protection that we did when I was in the legislature and signed into law to make sure that we give people time to make the appropriate decisions for themselves and their families. The last thing we want is people signing things under duress or under trauma. Now, what we've been working on has really been being able to modernize the department. We have been operating under 20th century regulations for a 21st century problem. We know climate change has been particularly devastating, and these communities have been hit back to back with fires, as we're seeing throughout the entire state. We have some commitments now with the changes that we've made in our regulatory scheme. We've seen some announcements now from insurance companies coming back, growing into these communities, and we have a plan that we're going to be implementing this year. And we're starting to see already insurance companies come in. We need to make sure we allow them to use technology so that we can better track and understand how these fires are reacting. And we also need to make sure that we're adjusting the price of the risk. And this is one thing that we all can work together, is bringing down the risk, ensuring that we're building up to code. Now the challenge is, what do we do with folks who are on limited income that cannot afford to make these mitigations to their home and harden their home against fire. And this is where we're working this year to create programs, specifically grant programs, to help people replace the roof, fortify their home, because that's how we transform these communities and make insurance companies come back into these communities. So
Athena, you started this conversation about the insurance companies and what to make sure you're looking for and how to be covered. Sometimes I have a catch-22 when we have these conversations because we're all business owners, right? And so as insurance companies, they're thinking as a business as opposed to humanity, right? So what are your thoughts? Should if a person lives in an area where there's a lot of fires and they move into that area and the insurance company says, yeah, we don't provide insurance in this area because there's a lot of fires. Is that right? Is that fair? What are your thoughts?
I'm glad you mentioned that because it is a catch-22 as a business owner. You're thinking from the business perspective. An insurance company is not legally obligated to insure anything. So they have the right to pull out of a state or decide that they're not going to provide coverage for that state. And the other insurance companies can decide whether or not they want to stay, if they want to, which usually will happen, increase their premiums to alleviate some of that risk or what have you. I do think that since insurance is privatized, even though it's heavily regulated by regulated, right? It's heavily because they have to do their statutory filings. I used to audit insurance companies, so I know this. It's heavily regulated, but it's still a private industry. Now it's coming to question is how much government should get involved to ensure the safety of citizens, since this is something that ultimately will affect taxpayers and taxpayer dollars. And like Constance said, whatever happens in Florida and happens in California happens to us all. I remember calling my car insurance. I'm like, why are my premiums going up? And I'm like driving the best. I'm whipping it like I'm supposed to whip it. And, there was a bunch of accidents in my area. So it just raised up my premiums, right? And this is another thing we also have to consider as American capitalistic society. We have a very pro-individualistic society, but these things remind us that what happens elsewhere affects us all, and we are a part of the greater collective. So the question I would like to pose to the panel today is, what do we need insurance reform as a whole? Because based off what has happened with United Healthcare, based on what's happening now, is the way the structure or the system of insurance is set up, is it set up in a way where it helps us greater as a society to help tackle these issues?
Everything is set up for capitalism, right? So insurance is set up to make more money. Somebody posted something. I think it said, I think it was in the chat. I was reading it. It does. Black Lexicon at 11:33. JPMorgan Chase market capitalization value is $644.49 billion. When you hear a number or you see a number or you read a number like that, you want to think, oh, they straight, they got money, but it's not enough. Like they trying to figure out how to get to 675, and then at 675, they're trying to figure out how to get to 700. So they're always going to be taking up. The fees are going to be going up. The percentages are going to be up. They're still trying to make more money. So with that being the case, that's the focus of their bottom line. It's not us. It's not the customer. It's not the human. And with y'all's president that y'all voted in, you got a whole plethora of business people that are going to be running the country for the next 4 years. Their goal is not us either. Their goal is also to put money in their pocket. So they're not thinking about us either. So to that point, why would we hand it to, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we hand it to government, it's ran by the business people, not the politicians. And when it was ran by the politicians was in the pockets of the business people. What we gonna do? I forgot. I'm sorry. Somebody asked a question. Constance, I saw you about to say something. You're on mute, sis.
Girl, no, I mean you hit it 100% on the head. This capitalistic society, it's going to be very interesting what we see in the next 4 years of how things shake out. You did see your president already trying to politicize this. He said if Governor Newsom would have signed that bill, which he was trying to protect some some fish called smelt, then this wouldn't have happened. But when you go, and so then, I'm looking at social media and I'm seeing people, yeah, rah, rah, President Trump, rah, 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 he's right, he's right. But if you go to just, all you gotta do is Google that shit, GTS, fact check that shit, you'll know that it's not true. There was never such a law being put in place or even there was nothing. And so he's trying to politicize this. And Governor Newsom is like, listen, I'm trying to worry about, I can't even address this clown right now. But if he doesn't even understand basic stuff like this, and he tries to politicize everything, and he's saying that he doesn't want to give federal funding to people who didn't vote for him. California is a highly Democratic state. So now he doesn't want to give federal funding to a Democratic state. This type of behavior where right now you think that we should all be coming together. Just like Athena said, we're all part of the bigger collective. But you have your leader, because your leader sets the tone for everybody else. And if your leader is divisive, then there's going to be a trickle down effect. So I'm with the lady from Canada says, let's just make California part of Canada. Let's make all these northern states part. Let's what do you call that? Detract from the United States, and let's just be a part of Canada, because it's some bullshit for real.
It literally is. Hey, Malinga, what is the government and or insurance system like where you are? What is it like where you are?
So Botswana is technically a third world country. I'm assuming that's what you mean, where you are.
Yeah. Or abroad, or it could be abroad. It could be the whole continent. It could be
no, because we split our time between the U.S. and Botswana, but I assume you're asking about Botswana. But so Botswana is a third world country. So one of the things that we do rely heavily on is, things like Red Cross. I can't think of the other organizations, but they're usually international organizations which funnel through the government. But of course, you do have insurance and things like that. But, there's only 2 million people in this country. And that just kind of changes things. If an insurance company tried to cover a natural disaster, it might go out of business, which is really what these insurance companies are trying not to do. They're trying not to go out of business. But I wanted to add one thing that I'm glad that we kind of brought politics into this, because I've noticed that with every new government that comes in, there's always a natural disaster of some sort. And it really opens people's eyes to show them what kind of leaders they have in place. And hopefully that kind of sensitizes us that when you're voting for a political leader, how they respond when there's a natural disaster is literally a matter of life and death. And if you don't choose well, you could be choosing death.
That is a great point. We're going to come back after this commercial and continue our conversation.
Fly Nubian Money is now on Spotify. Yes. We are on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us. All you have to do is search Fly Nubian Money and we will appear. All of our episodes. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and review so other people that come along and are looking for a good show to watch, they'll follow us too. If you are interested in being on Fly Nubian Money, sorry, I don't have any spaces. I'm just playing. If you are interested in being a queen or a king on Fly Nubian Money for the day, please reach out to me. I'm at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Also, if you need help with your business, go ahead and send me an email for that too. Okay. I've said enough. Now back to the show.
Okay. I've said enough. I love that part. Like she said, text the word 87948. Text 87948 Queens. Text the word Queens to 87948. Also, you can go to flynubianmoney.com to get your money right, to get some free tools and resources. Check that out. Right now, we're talking about insurance. There was a comment, I think Athena posted it in our back room, from Incago that says these insurance companies had to have had inside knowledge or were tipped off beforehand, triggering the mass cancellation 4 months ago. This is not a coincidence, and maybe not. It's the season. Like, I believe California has a season. They were not anticipating it to be in January. I do know that much. Can we get the slide on the insurance? I cannot see it. The Palisades fire is projected to cause damages exceeding 10 billion. We already talked about that. Straining California's insurance market. Major insurers like State Farm and Allstate have reduced their presence in California, canceling policies or ceasing to issue new ones. Many homeowners are left with the state's FAIR plan, which often has higher premiums. Okay. Constance, what is that? FAIR plan. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's a state insurance plan, and it's a default plan that they'll put on there, but it definitely has higher premiums.
Okay, so then you can be covered. It just might cost you a lot. So you have to decide between being covered and paying a high premium or not being covered.
Yeah, and it's really tough right now because there are a lot of insurance companies, just like you all said, in California that are not insuring Californians. And it's because of all of these things that happens. You have your earthquakes, you have your fires every year, you have all of this stuff. You have a big part of that was all them people looting. That was a big part of the insurance claim. So, it's really tough to be in California right now, with the cost of housing. And then the other thing is the cost of lumber has gone up significantly. So that also affects, when you have to rebuild, the cost to rebuild a property is extremely high, is much higher than a lot of times what's covered in the insurance because the cost of lumber has gone up. So there's just a lot of different variables. The federal government is going to have to step in to subsidize some of this stuff.
All right, Joe, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Do you believe it's fair for insurance companies to deny coverage to homeowners in areas of mass? So whether it's fire, flood, snow, is it fair? It's difficult as a business owner because I feel like I know you about to act a fool and now you want me to come and insure you, but I know it's going to flood. Like what do you do? Is that fair?
Is it fair for them to deny insurance?
To deny insurance.
Yeah.
Or to not offer it, or to take it back and say, we're not covering it.
No, that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. If you insure somebody, there's a risk for this. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to deny or cancel coverage after someone's already started a policy, but it's definitely okay. I think it's definitely fair to be like, nah, that's a risk in this area. I'm not going to do it. But look, I've been paying insurance since I was 15 years old and barely used any of it. So I just happen to think that insurance is the greatest scam the American government's ever come up with, forcing us to pay for stuff that we may never, ever use in some kind of form or fashion. I've been paying car insurance, medical insurance premiums. I don't barely get sick. I've been paying, I had things on my house, and when it's time for me to come cash that stuff in, they're nowhere to be found, and they're arguing with me about what they're going to pay. I got to be like a lawyer in order to get these. But you're telling me that I am obligated to pay these things. So this whole system, we figured it out in 1992 when we entered the 36 chambers. Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar bill.
Listen, insurance should be called what if, because you have people who pay monthly car insurance. It has never been an accident. They will never see a dollar of that money in their life. Medical, okay, you most likely gonna see a little something for your medical insurance. Renter's insurance, hopefully you don't. But you have to go out and get these insurance. Like that is the true financial power, having these businesses where the person, the client, the customer has to have what you offer. Athena and or Constance, is there a way for us to get into insurance? This is like a really random question. Is there a way for us to get into insurance? Like, can we start our own insurance company? Is that realistic? Is that something that we could do?
It can, but it's gonna take it's a long, lengthy process, and there's so many statutory rules with even starting your own insurance company. And then also just to even get your insurance license. So a lot of people don't know I have my own, I'm a licensed insurance agent.
Oh,
so I do have an insurance license for the state of Florida. And just to even get that, it is a lot of work. So to start your own insurance company, it would take a lot, because then you'd have to have a certain amount of capital in order to leverage, in order to be able to write premiums and all of that nature. And there's a reason why certain major industries are operated almost like there's monopolies kind of like in those industries, right? When you think of car insurance, so you think of Allstate, Geico, Progressive, right? When you think of, certain things, there's only certain number of places you can go, and that is on purpose.
And so when one makes a rule, they all make the rule, and then that becomes the norm for the industry. There's nothing else you can do.
The government does have statutory laws that they have to follow, right? They have statutory laws that they have to follow, but you also know these companies have money to lobby for their interests as well. So that's the other side of things. And like Joe was discussing, there's a lot of us paying insurance for things that we'll never see that money, or you're paying, people paying $400 or $500 a month for health insurance. You're paying like $5,000-$6,000 a year, and are you getting $5,000-$6,000 worth of coverage? And they're taking that $6,000, investing it, and probably doubling that money, and hoping that you don't submit a claim, and if you do, try tooth and nail to not cover it. So it's definitely something that I do think personally that the government needs to have more regulation and get involved in that. But as a business, though, they do have the right to decide certain areas they're just not going to touch because it's just too much. The liability will be too much for them to cover. So now as a person, and this is something, I discuss in my women's group, but, the latest thing is like, okay, does it make sense to even own a home even as a single person? Like as a single woman right now, when I was going through these hurricanes, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, if something happened to me, I'm alone. Like, these things are things that you have to consider. Like from a renter's perspective, it might be easier to have an apartment because at least all you have to do is insurance your own personal things, and you can easily move and start over. So these are the other things and aspects to home ownership that I think is even being looked at right now, because some people might not be worth it to own a home in certain places like California or Florida. It might be better to just rent, because now I don't have to worry about if a hurricane comes and blows this down, that I might not get, my replacement value of my home and be able to start over, and I just lost all that equity.
Gotcha.
But you still have to consider the personal property that you have. So that has to be insured.
So insurance is a requirement. Like we got to have it. We can't necessarily go out and start
I feel
our
like
own
rental
company,
insurance is
but
always
that's
cheaper
what it
than
is.
home insurance.
Oh, it's much, much cheaper.
Much cheaper. It was like
a couple $100s, few $100 a year.
All right, let's go ahead and go to our final commercial. We'll come back and get our go around the room.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl, Constance Carter. Where am I? I am on a yacht in the Baltimore Harbor, and I am doing my 7-figure strategic planning solo, baby. I plan on having a 7-figure year. I partnered with the Fly Nubian Money, and we are putting together a training that's going to help you to put together your 6- and 7-figure ecosystem. Yes, there are things that you need to do, strategies you need to put in place so that you can implement and have a 6 to 7-figure year if you don't already have one. If you got a 6-figure year, let's go ahead and get you a 7-figure one. If you got a 5-figure year, let's get you a 6-figure. Let's get you there. Join me, the Fly Nubian Money Club, and let's grow your money in 2025. You know what? The Bible says that you should have 7. Ecclesiastes 11:2 said you should have 7, no 8 revenue streams in case a disaster strikes the land. What's happening in California right now? A disaster has stricken the land. What happened in 2020? A disaster struck the land. And what happened to a lot of people? They lost so much. And so when they were dependent on their job, when they're depending on the government, when they're depending on these entities, they got caught holding the bag. But what if you were self-sufficient? What if you had the money? What if you had the resources where you didn't have to depend on anybody else? What if something happened in your life where you had a fire, you had a divorce, you had a death in your family, and it didn't wipe you out because you were prepared? You guys need to be at this training on Saturday so that we can talk about increasing your net worth, growing your money, and not blowing your money.
Boom, 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 boom. We're going to go to our last video. And then we're going to do closing thoughts around ways to be prepared. You're not in California. This is not happening to you, but any type of a disaster could happen to you. And so we're going to close out with this last video with the firefighters talking about pulling out the fire, where they're at, how long it can take, whatever the case might be. And then we'll do our final thoughts.
There are hurricane force winds blowing through Southern California right now, and that is causing huge problems for firefighters trying to fight this fire. They can't put up planes. They can't put up helicopters. Fires raging out of control. The fires have burned about 5 football fields per minute. One of the fires is burning in Pacific Palisades. Now, that's a coastal neighborhood of Los Angeles and home to a number of celebrities. We're talking million-dollar mansions. Palisades Charter High School is among the buildings damaged by the fires. There is also a desperate effort to get out of the way of the fire. 30,000 people now under mandatory evacuation orders. On Sunset Boulevard, drivers abandoned their cars after getting stuck in traffic trying to leave.
We got in the car to go, and then all the cars were abandoned, so I had nowhere to go, so I just had to get out of my car and start walking.
That woman only had her backpack and her dog. That is all she was able to save from her home. We also want to show you the view from above. Video was shot from a plane above the Palisades fire. We know that a firefighter suffered a serious head injury while fighting this fire, and other people being treated for burns. I'm told that those people simply had to walk away from their homes and walk to a grocery store and restaurants trying to find help for themselves. We hope to learn more about the nature of some of these injuries later today as sun starts to rise.
So we're watching this, and although we're not I'm personally not in California. Tiara is, Miss Black Hollywood, Constance has lived there, has family there. We all may have loved ones that are there. The final thought that I want us to think about is kind of what Athena and Constance was talking about. We all live on this earth, and by living on this earth and in nature, there are natural disasters that can strike. And so are you prepared for that? Because we never think it's going to be us. We never think it's going to strike our house. We think it's going to be somebody else. We weren't thinking about Katrina. Nobody was prepared for this fire. We're not prepared for it. Could be the stock market. It could be 2008. Like it doesn't even necessarily have to be a natural disaster in the form of what's happening in the earth. It could be a natural financial disaster. It could be COVID, right? That was a disaster. Are you prepared? Are you financially prepared? Do you have your documents in order? Do you have a bank account? Do you have cash? Do you have food? Do you know how to shoot a gun? Like there's a lot that goes into being prepared, and there's a variety of different things that you need to be prepared for. But right now we're talking about natural causes and natural disasters. The last question I'm going to leave for the panel is, what would you do yourself, and or how are you or have you prepared for natural disaster? And if you haven't, what will you do to help yourself get prepared so that you don't end up as one of these people? Because you can't think that when it's time to get evacuated that there's going to be a gridlock and you can't leave with anything and all you can take is your dog. Like no matter what you thought, you probably had an escape route. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm going to do. My car is packed and ready to go. And then bam, you can't, all you have is your dog. Like what, like, I can't even imagine. Like, I have no natural disaster plan, but I promise you, I'm in my mind right now thinking like, what would I do? So we will start with you, Athena, since you actually live in a place that has the hurricane comes through every single year. We'll start with you. And then this is your final thoughts. So also make sure to tell people where they can find you.
Okay, so this is bad, but I kind of have a soft girl life plan to disaster preparedness. So when Hurricane Helene was here, what I planned to do was just put my house up, like shutters and everything, and then I will stay with my family at the family house because it has its own water supply, it's solar and natural gas powered, hurricane windows, weapons, everything that we would need, food, IV, everything is at that house. So I would stay at my family's house if it got too crazy. If I felt like it was like a Cat 4, Cat 5, you know, I had people who was willing to fly me out to wherever I wanted to go. So that, or I could fly myself out. So that's my preparedness plan for situations like that. I'm going to be surrounded by my family and utilize the resources. And that's why community and being prepared is so important. My name is Athena Gardner. I'm a CPA. Everything that you can find out if you're interested about me is elevatewithathena.com. My latest course, The Goddess Guide to Money, is going to be help for all my queens who want to be financially prepared for what life has to offer. I think these situations remind us of how money is important for your protection and preparedness. So you can find that information at that course at elevatewithathena.com. And also for those of you who are interested in making your New Year resolutions and dreams of owning your own business or elevating a current one happen, I do have the AI business launch available to you as well. You can find everything, my social media, podcast at elevatewithathena.com.
Awesome. Now, Malaya, we're going to go to you next. What are you thinking? What are you thinking for yourself and your family or your loved ones around getting prepared for any type of a crisis or natural disaster?
So I had one. I actually did mention earlier that I lived in Florida, but I lived there for 2 short years. And then the other states that I've lived in have been Rhode Island, upstate New York, and then Boston and Massachusetts. And those were just snow. You just deal with snow. But I do want to put it out there that, the risk in every state or every area that you run into isn't the same every time. And I just got the H up out of Florida. So I think that's always a consideration. And I think that there are states that are higher risk than others. So that's a consideration. And I did mention earlier, and I think Athena was kind of alluding to it, the importance of having good family connections, somewhere to go, and being prepared with people who are also prepared or more prepared than you, that's a safety for you. And just quickly, how you can find me. I am on all social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram under my real name, Nomalangam Sally Moses. That's where I can be found. What I do have going on right now that I do want to mention is that we're doing a campaign right now with, I'm not sure if it can go up there, but our charity, padsforourgirls.com. I'm just typing it in. padsforourgirls.com, and we do a campaign. I do talk a lot about it on my social media and on my lives that I do alone without the panel. It's actually a charity that gives sanitary pads to young girls who are I don't want to say poor, but that need them. And we could use the support. And if you do want to do that, it's at padsforourgirls.com. We have a campaign going on in the month of January so that we can supply to schoolgirls that are in remote areas here in Botswana.
That is awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Mr. Joe Corley, what about you, sir?
As a therapist and also as a client, I try to do my best to root myself in reality. So I know what my situation is, and I don't try to panic over what it's not and what I don't have. So I know what I need to do in order, I know what the main thing is for me. Constance always say, man, I'm eating this elephant one bite at a time to try to get to, what I need to do. And for what I want, I know I need a little bit more money for the comfort level that I have. The more older I get, the more I learn not to put my faith in any type of systems like this one. So if natural disaster hits, it'd be great if they help, but I don't count on it. So, what I'm doing is, I'm listening to, Corey Woods, Jason Hunter, and Clifford Smith. And you can find me at realuconsulting.com. I'm inviting people every day to the couch to help you get rooted in your reality.
Come
You
on,
gonna get
now.
us kicked off the network playing that music.
Oh, that's right. That's true. That's true. You could have rapped it looking like an R&B singer. You could have been a rapper.
Over there with the LL Cool J lips.
Them was my friends over some music.
Okay. Cece, Constance Carter, final thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't have a natural disaster plan, and I've never, even though I'm from California, we had the wildfires. It's close. We had the Oakland fires, but we didn't have anything close to us. But I do have a if I die. So what happens if I die? I'm insured up the yin yang. So I have whole life insurance policies where I can actually cash it out right now and have a life benefit and a death benefit. I have a term life insurance policy. So if something should happen, my kids get a few $1,000,000 and the house is paid off. I'm insured with my home. I have homeowners insurance. The other thing, and of course, all the insurances, right? You got to have all the insurances to make sure that you're protected. There's no sense in working as hard as we do that and we're not insured. But beyond the insurance, you should have some type of document, and I think I should have it on my website possibly. It's a personal organizer, and I think it's free on constancecarter.com, I believe. It's a personal planner organizer, and you could download it. And what you do is you put everything on there. You have it all in one place, all your bank accounts, all your insurances, everything that's relatable to you. So should something happen to you, then your kids will have it, or somebody, your next of kin, you send it via email. I have everything that I have is on the cloud. My kids have my passwords to everything. So they have access to everything because we don't know the day nor the hour. And one of the things that I see so often is when people die, people are around here running around looking for their insurance, or they can't get into their bank, or their bank is seized. So you got to make sure that you have the proper beneficiaries on your banks, and make sure that the people who are beneficiaries of your policies, they know that you have insurance for them. So that's the preparedness I think that we need to have around, what happens if a natural disaster or if death occurs. We need to let our loved ones know where everything is. And if you could put things in, I have a fireproof safe right here. So all of my important documents are right there. So if something happens and my house gets burned down, there are some documents that will still be in this little safe that nothing will happen to, because, I have this fireproof safe. My mama had a fireproof safe. My grandmama had it's just kind of something that's been passed down from generation to generation. But try to do that. I mean, my shit ain't perfect. Of course there's areas of improvement, but those are the things the basic things that I do think that everyone should have is something, centralized where everyone has access, or not everyone, the important people. So my daughter, being the oldest one, being 25 years old, she knows where all my stuff is. She got my passwords. I can't, I'd be like, girl, my men might be, texting me, but she got my passwords to my shit. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just have something to the side where somebody knows where all of your things are. This is why this is so important. And this is also a part of the legacy creation and legacy building, right? When we get wealth, we want to be able to keep wealth. We want to be able to pass wealth, and we can't pass it if we don't have all of our other business taken care of. So that's why that's so important. So that's the reason why I love working with Black people. And that's the reason why you need to be at our training on Saturday. But Black women, if you are a Black woman, or a Black woman, I have the Net 7 Collective. Our new cohort is coming up at the end of this month. And y'all, we getting ready to release our book called Unbreakable. I can't wait for you to see it. It's powerful. It's a powerful collection of stories from brilliant Black women from all over the country that are going to inspire you guys. So go to bookwithconstance.com. And where can you find me? Everywhere. I am Constance Carter. Thank you.
I am Constance Carter. What did you used to say? The hardest working, you used to have a little.
Well, don't nobody want to work hard no more. Yeah, nobody works harder than Constance Carter. But shit, I'm talking to my kids, and now they having childhood trauma because I was at work all the time. So I'm trying to work smarter, not harder.
Listen, that part. So I am Dr. Naja Vet, and this conversation has truly just opened my eyes. I live in Arizona, and I know we talked about every place has, catastrophic disasters. And I'm like, we don't have them in Arizona other than heat and monsoons. But we do get fires, I guess. Arizona gets fires. I guess that's what we get. We get fires. But wholeheartedly, my sister is one of those conspiracy theorist people. So she has food unlocked. She got a freezer. She got her guns. She got her ammo. She believes that the apocalypse is coming. And because she's so that way, I'm anti that way. I'm like, I think you're doing too much. But now that I'm seeing all these different things that are happening in the world, I am feeling like, you know what, I need to be better prepared. And so I am going to be relentless this first quarter of this year in getting my medical stuff together, putting all my insurance paperwork in places, getting a fireproof safe. I am going to think about the things that if something were to happen, what would I do? I haven't thought about that. I just live my life. And so I am going to be really cognitive of making sure that I am prepared and my son is prepared and my family is prepared. If something were to happen, what would we do? We joke about it because, again, we never think it's really going to be us. But what we're seeing and what we're knowing with this situation is it could be anybody. Crisis, it's not based on status because this happened in Malibu. It's not based on color, mostly white folks. None of those things matter. So get prepared. I am doing this year with my Black Power event that Constance has come to every single year. We are doing a year of impact. So instead of doing Black Power one time for one weekend, we're doing it for the whole year of 2025. We are calling it the year of impact. Every single month, we are doing something to help you make an impact in your life and in your business. In May, we're applying for grants as a group. We're going to be doing grants and funding. In August, we're working on your pitch. In September, we're working on your intellectual property. So every single month has a theme in order for you to make an impact in your business. And so if you want to work with our group, our collective of Black women of sisterhood, you can go to blackpower.com, get signed up. Every single week, you will get an email from me with affirmations, keeping you on task. Every month, you have an assignment. In February, Black History Month, we are writing ourselves into Black history. So I'm excited. I'm so geeked for our February event where not only are you going to be learning about Black history, but the assignment is to write yourself into Black history. And so it's going to be exciting. My goal is 100 Black women that we can come together and build community, encourage each other. There's an accountability group, so you will have an accountability partner, so somebody that you can talk to help you keep moving and grooving. We don't know what's happening in this world for the next 4 years, but what we do know is Black women are resilient and we are powerful when we come together. So if you are interested in getting signed up, go to blackpower.com, get signed up. We have our kickoff next Saturday. Oh, lastly, and it comes with the calendar. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I personally made this calendar. So my little AI, Athena's not here. But it also comes with, yes, it comes with the calendar. So you get the calendar and you get the year of mentoring. So go check that out. As
Girl,
far as
y'all better do it. You guys better do it. It sounds like you have something great going on.
One day we'll talk about how I got there, but not today because I know we got to go. But FlyNubianMoney.com is where you want to be, right? Constance says, get your money right, not blow your money. We have the Fly. You can go to FlyNubianMoney.com. If you want to get notified when we're here live, Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock p.m., text the word Queens to 87948. If you miss us, you can go check us out on Spotify. Just look for Fly Nubian Money. You can check us out there. Leave us a review because you know you love us. And if none of those things work for you, go to FlyNubianMoneyClub.com. You can join, I believe, Constance's class this Saturday. You can sign up at FlyNubianMoneyClub.com. They have a free trial. Okay, so go try it out. Go listen to Constance this weekend. I have known Constance for many of years. I finally got to meet her in person at ABNC. She is who she says she is. How you see her here today is literally how she is in person. Being around her, not even in person, but just how she shows up and supports Black women. She don't know me from nobody. And every year without fail, she shows up for Black Power. And so when I tell y'all want to be with somebody who is authentic and who loves Black people and who is intelligent and acts with integrity, and this woman right here, she is the business. So make sure you guys go and get signed up.
Thank you.
On Saturday. She's dope. So we appreciate you guys showing up for Fly Nubian Queens again on today. We love you. Go out, have a great day. Kiss somebody, hug somebody that you love. Somebody lost somebody. Somebody didn't wake up today. Go let the people that you know and love know that you love them. Okay, go out, be good, stay Black, be blessed, and be one. We'll see you guys tomorrow.